Good afternoon. This is Judge Alyssa Perez presiding over the 210th District Court criminal docket for May 2nd, 2023. All matters being heard today are being heard in accordance with all emergency orders and directives regarding COVID-19. In addition to that, we are streaming all matters live via YouTube for public viewing. Mr. Marufo, would you call our next case, please?
Top of page 26, Judge. Annex. May we have Randy Martel and Christopher Martel?
Yes.
Come now, please.
And Judge, I'm coming for Joe Spencer on the Martel case.
Understood.
Not here, which is Randy.
Randy Marcel. Okay.
Annex, do we also have Christopher Martel?
No, Your Honor, he's not on our list, but we can bring him.
Yes, please.
We'll go on to the next defendant, Annex. Can we have Crystal Herrera?
No. We're staying on the Martel's case.
Okay, Judge.
Your Honor, it looks like the only Martel we have in custody is Randy.
Did we not request Christopher Martel?
He is on today's docket, Judge.
Did we request him from the jail?
Yes, Judge. They're both there.
Yeah, this is Randy. I don't have Christopher.
Annex, do you all have Christopher Martel listed?
He's not on our list, Your Honor, but we're gonna bring him around. He's not showing up.
All right. My apologies, Mr. Valenzuela. We'll have to wait, Ms. King. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm fine, thanks, Judge.
Yes.
He's in lockdown. All right, let me go in.
Go ahead, Mr. Marufo.
Do they have it?
Annex.
Okay. Yes, sir.
May we have Crystal Herrera?
Yes, sir.
Page 25, Judge.
Let me go.
In cause number 2023 0D00612 and 2023 0D00407 and 2023 0D004449 and 2022 0D00353 State of Texas versus Crystal Evelyn Herrera. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
And Preston Munson as well on 2023 0D00407. Or sorry, 00612.
Judge, I think we lost Mr. Perez.
Okay. See if he logs back in.
Yes, Judge.
Mr.
Hello, I don't know what happened. My phone, my computer just died. So I
All
got
right.
on with the phone.
We were just asking for your announcement on Ms. Herrera's cases.
Yeah, and I was started talking and then boom, disappeared. Robert Bettis on behalf of Crystal Herrera.
And Ms. Herrera is appearing remotely from the jail annex. We are scheduled in each of these cases for bond hearings. Mr. Perez, you may proceed.
Your Honor, yes, the bonds are just way beyond her reach. We submitted to the court, and I don't know if it was available to you, a non-prosecution affidavit that had been prepared on one of the aggravated assault cases with a deadly weapon, signed by the complaining witness, Cristina Jimenez. Does the court have that?
I don't recall. Do you know when you sent it?
Today?
I have not seen it. We were in trial.
Oh, I apologize. And this was given voluntarily when she had Paul Coronado with the County Public Defender's Office. And the complaining witness is Christina Jimenez, date of birth 1/14/1990. And so we forwarded, we're hoping it'll get to the prosecution too. They may have it already. But we have a non-prosecution statement with respect to one of those charges. If she was released on bond, her mom wrote me a letter saying that she could live with her at 1708 Leroy Bonds, El Paso, Texas 79936. I also have a letter from an employer saying that Cristina Herrera is working with us at Artistic Tile, excuse me, that she runs a crew of 3 to 7 employees, that she cleans, she lays tile, she cuts tile, and actually does grout, and saying that she works very hard and is always on time, and that her job is waiting for her if she was released on bond. Your Honor, we're asking if the bond be reduced to something that's livable, that she can make, and perhaps have a PR element. If you want to have other conditions such as a curfew, possibly even a home confinement if necessary, we're willing to accept your terms, but we're asking for the bonds to be reduced because they're, at this point, she just can't possibly make them.
Okay, so I guess, Mr. Munson, you're on one case. Mr. Vandenberg, how do y'all want to handle this?
Would you like to go first, Mr. Munson?
Sure. Your Honor, considering her lengthy history, she's been sentenced not only to state jail, she's also been sentenced to TDC time previously. She's been out on bond. She's picked up new cases multiple times. At this point, she can't, just based on her proven history, she can't be trusted under a PR condition or any other type of bond. Otherwise, she's going to commit a new offense and be back into this situation. At this point, we think the bonds are set reasonably. It's in the drug case. She was allegedly had just under 4 grams of fentanyl and then just over 7 grams of methamphetamine.
So, Mr. Perez, I know Ed Hernandez from the Public Defender's Office was handling this case before you entered an appearance. Is that right?
I believe so.
And I
Because
believe,
I'm not sure Mr. Coronado was also representing her at some point.
okay. So I think my memory is that we had issues with Miss Herrera on the case for which she was on bond, and I think was set for trial. Let's see. As recently as February 3rd, she had a reset from October 2022. She picks up some new cases. And then, the week before trial, she picks up all kinds of stuff. And I remember seeing her. She appeared. I may have withdrawn a capias or 2 along the way, but it was always with failures to comply with conditions of bond. And then we pick up new cases. So let me hear Mr. Vandenberg if you have anything.
No, I would underline everything that Mr. Munson said, and I would in particular point out the number, just the sheer number of offenses and the weight of the offense. Aggravated assaults with deadly weapons, 2nd-degree felonies. We have a whole list of not mere misdemeanors, not 3rd-degree felonies. We're looking at serious violent offenses here. And as Mr. Munson said, I think that we can almost be certain that if she is released on bond, she will reoffend and more than likely commit a serious violent offense against citizens on the street. So we would ask that bond be not be revoked in any way.
I do remember Ms. Herrera very clearly. Ms. Herrera, you and I spoke with previous hearings. The request, Mr. Perez, to reduce any of her bonds is respectfully denied. The defendant court has no confidence very little confidence that Ms. Herrera could ever comply with any of the conditions of bond, no matter what they are. And for the safety of the community, those are denied. Can we get confirmation, Myrna? All of her cases are set for trial in July, is that right?
Yes, ma'am, they're running concurrent.
Okay, so we have all our hearings leading up to the trial date.
Okay, so when is our trial date, Your Honor?
July 14th.
Okay, I was gonna look at my calendar just to make sure because my phone is now that's where my calendar is, and I'm using it now to get on the Zoom since my computer died unexpectedly. Okay.
These,
Yeah,
I do believe these settings predate you, so they were there when you entered.
I
Thank you
understand,
very
Your Honor.
much.
We will do what we can to be ready for them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Who's next?
Your Honor, we have Christopher and Randy Martel ready.
Okay, bring them up. Go ahead.
In cause number 2021 0D0 0640 and 2021 0D0 0641, State of Texas versus Randy Alexander Martel and Christopher Rick Martel. Announcement of council, please.
Rolla King for this state of Texas. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Judge Felix Valenzuela on behalf of both defendants Martel.
And both defendants, in fact, are appearing remote for today's hearing. We are solely set in each of these cases for judges conference. And I believe primarily that was because we had some trial dates and for issues that I guess both the state and defense were working on. It was not wise to set another date until we had some better direction. And that is the purpose of today's judges conference. So how about you all give me an update?
Your Honor, I have an update regarding the trace testing. As of this morning, the technical side of the report is getting reviewed and it should be disclosed this week. And then after that, it would be should go into the final phase, the second phase, which is the administrative review. And that's the latest update from Austin.
How long does the admin review take, more or less?
Your Honor, they told me a week or two.
Is that the only thing we had left outstanding?
As
Yes,
far as testing, yes, Your Honor.
Are you all comfortable setting a trial date at this point?
We're right for the state. I would say yes.
I think we would need, I mean, if we set it out far enough, Your Honor, we probably could, just so we have time to review it and then get it to our experts.
Okay, let me ask again, what are we looking in terms of logistics? I gotta think I put this with multiple panels in commissioner's court, things of that nature. Offhand, Mr. Valenzuela or Ms. King, you as well, do you know of any dates that are not workable for you all? And I'm thinking, maybe I should narrow that down. Oh, it's so difficult because there's not, even though we're almost halfway through the year, the court's calendar in terms of special settings, even though we all know other cases fall through, get resolved, it's still very difficult. I don't want to schedule you at a time that I can't be for sure that it's going to be these cases that go. Ms. Myrna, can you tell me, do we have a block of 2 weeks where we don't have special settings? I would say in the October, maybe December is better because I don't feel like I've set too much after Thanksgiving. Can you confirm that for me?
Judge, December, the week of December 1st, then all the way through the 8th. So that those would be 2 weeks.
Okay.
December 1st.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't set too much after Thanksgiving. So do you all have any issues with that date?
That works for me, Judge.
I
long
I
as
served
it's not-
federal trial with Judge Briones on the 12th, Your Honor, that, I mean, it's one he said a while ago. I think it'll go.
Okay,
I'm sorry, Judge.
let's see.
I don't think November works, Judge, because we have the other case. I believe that's the first week of November.
Yeah, so then, um. Yeah, and if I go backwards, all I'm gonna find is a bunch of specially set cases. Let me see here. Give me 1 second. What about September 22nd, Myrna? Can you look at that one? And then maybe the surrounding dates. Let me see what's on the 29th. And while we do that, if you will check your calendars as well, let me go to the previous week.
I'm sorry, Judge, what date was that?
September 22nd.
Thank you, Judge.
Judge,
Mhm.
that would be, because we have the capital special setting November 2nd.
Mhm. So I'm talking about September.
I
September.
hope this case doesn't last a month, really.
Okay, I know, I was like, whoa.
Oh, September. I'm thinking about October. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
So I am looking, actually, what looks even better to me is September 15th. And knowing that September 22nd is kind of clear too, you know, that should. Let me just go back and look at September 15th. How does that look?
Mr. Spencer and I start a specially set murder trial on the 4/9 on September 8th, Judge. And that, I mean, it's not going to be a long trial. That'll probably be a week at the most.
So I'm better off at the 22nd. Is that what you're telling me?
If possible, Your Honor. I apologize. I don't mean to be such a.
And Judge, I do have
Morning.
September 11th, a murder in the 384th.
Can we do September 22nd?
That works for me.
I
Works
want it.
for- Works for us, Your Honor.
I see 2 nods. All right. Okay. Ay. We're going to specially set this for September 22nd and 21st. Mr. Marufo, do we already have panels for those days?
It just, for those days, we have them in the courtroom. On the
Okay.
28th and 29th, we have Commissioner's Court and Ceremonial Court.
Okay, so let me see, September 28th and 29th. What are those? Is there a reason we have those in Commissioner's Court? Is there a particular case?
No, Judge, I just blocked it out. I think we did have one.
Is so on that week of September 29th, we have commissioners for Friday only or for Thursday as well?
We have commissioners on Thursday and the ceremonial room on Friday, which hold the same amount of jurors.
So the 28th is commissioners. Did we already talk about the 28th and 29th? I'm sorry.
I don't think so. No, Judge.
No? Can you look at those dates? If I already have panels, I would much rather ensure that we had larger panels with less turns at jury selection than have to do 4 panels in my courtroom.
Judge, that works for me, September 28th and 29th.
Mr. Valenzuela, I'm sorry, I didn't see here if I had an answer for me.
I apologize, Judge. What day was that?
28th and 29th?
That
September.
works, Your Honor.
Okay, let me, so I'm understanding you all, the 15th, 22nd, and 29th are all workable? Yes?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Because we have the panels already for the 28th and 29th in both the ceremonial and commissioners court, that is going to be my preference. I am seeing a notation admittedly that I'm not quite understanding on my calendar. So I want to make sure that I don't have an issue with the 29th. As long as I can clarify there, I'm going to schedule for September 29th. If I see there is an issue, then you're going to get the setting for the 15th. And I will do my best to secure large panels on both for any of those weeks, it will be both Thursday and Friday jury selection. Myrna, were you going to say something?
No, Judge, I just wanted to confirm it's 28th and 29th.
Correct.
Yeah.
Felix, I'm sorry, Mr. Valenzuela.
No, Judge, just the 15th. That's the one that conflicts with our 409th murder specially set.
In September?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the 15th doesn't even work.
Correct. The 22nd, 28th, 29th, that all works, Your Honor.
Okay, 22nd. Alrighty. All right, we'll get you your settings. Is there anything else? We'll also set with that September trial date in mind. We'll go ahead and set an August 8th final judges conference at 3 p.m. on both cases.
Perfect. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Okay, if you need anything else from us in terms of hearings, please submit your request with your pleading and whatever needs to be heard before the trial date.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. You all are excused.
Thank you, Judge.
Who's next?
Second on page 23, Judge. Annex, may we have Borunda Ceballos?
Burunda.
In cause number 2023-0D00424, State of Texas versus Carlos Omar Borunda Ceballos. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Marcus Salas on behalf of Mr. Borunda, we are ready.
And Mr. Borunda is appearing remotely from the jail annex. We are set for a bond hearing today. Mr. Rosales, I'm just quickly seeing the bond is 5,000. Is that what it is?
I believe that's what it is. I can't get into the website right now for some reason. Obviously I have internet, but I can't check the bond. I'm not sure why.
I believe that's correct, Your Honor.
I'm seeing it at 5,000 and clerk is confirming that. Thank you, Ms. Welch. All right, we're set for a bond hearing. Mr. Rosales, are you able to proceed?
I am able to proceed. I believe Mr. Borunda needs an interpreter, but I can proceed if you like, Judge. I don't know if you have an interpreter there.
If you're requesting an interpreter, obviously we ask that you do that ahead of time. So it'll take us a second. We can circle back around.
I can do it by proffer, Your Honor. I just don't have his address, but I'm sure you could provide that to PR bond if you were to grant partial PR bond. You could do that at a later date.
Okay,
later.
so do you want to proceed without the interpreter?
I would, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So my office last had contact with the complaining witness, Ms. Marisa Moreno, regarding this bond hearing. She advised that she's thinking about providing a non-prosecution statement specifically because they share a child together and that child is on the way. More importantly, the issue was that Mr. Borunda has some medical issues. She didn't get me the doctor's report as of yet. That may be in part because the staff member that I had working this case has left my office since Friday. But in any event, he suffers from some type of medical issue regarding convulsions. It's not being treated well at the jail, and so he needs to get out to get that treated. He had a job. I don't think he has it any longer, but he can reside here in El Paso. And the problem is he doesn't have any collateral that I'm aware of that can support that kind of bond, or even the 10%. And I understand the court mentioned that the amount of the bond not being terribly high, but he still can't make it. That's all I have to do.
Mr. Vandenberg?
State thinks that the amount of bond, about 5,000, is reasonable in this matter. The charges are continuous violence against the family, third-degree felony, and we are very concerned that he will go back and reoffend with his family, with the mother of his child. And we hear about medical issues, but I haven't seen any kind of documentation as to the existence of these. It's just an allegation. If these are to be taken seriously, I would like to see some kind of medical documentation on this, Your Honor. But again, in terms of safety to the community and safety to his family, we oppose this bond attempt to reduce the bond, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything else, Mr.? What are we talking about? Okay, so this is a continuous charge. Does he have any prior, other than the alleged acts involved in this indictment, does he have any prior criminal history?
No, Your Honor, he doesn't.
All right. Mr. Rosales, anything else?
Judge, if you want more clarity on his medical condition, maybe you might want to circle back around when there's an interpreter, but it's because I don't have that information, because it was never provided to me in document form. So that's all I have.
In terms of the jailings, I do see a jailing in 2021 for an assault family violence. Was that put into this indictment? Is that one of the acts that is
Yes.
in our indictment now? Okay.
It's included, Your Honor.
Right.
And where's your client going to? I know you said you didn't have the address, but where was your client going to live? Is he intending to go back together with the complainant? And
Well, clearly, if the court orders him not to, he won't. But I mean, I'm not sure about that just yet. I can ask him in Spanish, Judge, if you like, and I can do a real-time translation if you don't mind.
Mr. Marufo, how quickly can we get an interpreter?
I'm calling right now, Judge. About
Okay.
5 minutes.
We'll go ahead and circle back to Mr. Borunda. Mr. Rosales will be right back with you. All
Sounds
right.
good. Thank
Who's next?
Bottom, towards the bottom of page 27, Judge.
Mhm.
Annex, may we have Guillen Perez?
Yes, sir.
Who's the new attorney on this one? Is it, oh, it's Mr. Vasquez, huh?
Yes, Judge, I was appointed yesterday.
Okay.
While we're waiting for him, can I inquire about your trial docket for Friday?
You're one of them. You're
I
one
know.
of them. And we're not quite, we're still waiting on public defenders and the state on some things. So just be ready.
Okay.
All righty, let's go ahead and call it.
In cause number 2021-0D02039, State of Texas versus Guillen Perez. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
And Joseph Vasquez, representing Mr. Perez, Judge.
Okay, and this was, and Mr. Perez is appearing from the jail annex. Sir, is that you? Are you Guillen? I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Guillen Perez?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and so we had a change of attorney here, Mr. Perez, Mr. Vasquez. The court appointed Mr. Vasquez as of yesterday I believe Mr. Lopez, who was previously representing you, has been involved in a extensive court proceeding in another court. And so, so as not to delay anything, we went ahead and appointed you another attorney, and he is present here today. We are scheduled for a pre-revocation hearing. And honestly, with everything going on today, Ms. Carla, can you give me an update? I know you sent me the case summaries.
Your Honor, Mr. Perez was placed on probation on April 26, 2022. He was placed for 1 year probation, deferred. However, he never reported to probation.
Oh.
There's never been any contact with Mr. Perez. Therefore, everything is outstanding. Being that he was only given 1 year of probation, his term did expire already as of April 25th, 2023. I apologize. However, the MTR was filed on March 30th, 2023.
Okay. So, pretty straightforward, Mr. Vasquez. He pled to a misdemeanor. He never reported. As so many in this court already know, I am not a fan of misdemeanor probation in this court, especially because I believe, you know, it was a state jail felony. We give him the benefit of the doubt and doesn't do anything. So I'm right at the top of the time, considering how that goes. I'm right at a year. So because you just got on this case, I'm going to go ahead and reset it for 30 days for a pre-revocation hearing. So you can have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Perez, talk to your client, and then from there we'll go to either some type of, I don't know, contested matter, plea of true, Mr. Vandenberg. I'll take your input at some point, but I think I know where I am. Mr. Perez, I see you're raising your hand, but you have not had the benefit of advice from this attorney. And so I really don't want to hear from you right now. Go ahead and you'll have time to speak with your attorney. He'll come out to see you and do what he thinks he needs to do to advocate for you. But we are resetting this hearing for 30 days so that he can have an opportunity to do that.
Yes, Your Honor.
All righty. We'll see you in
Okay.
30 days. Thank you.
Thank you,
Mr.
Judge.
Okay, who's next?
Staying on page 27, Judge.
Mhm.
Downtown, do you have Mr. Villa?
Yes, sir.
In cause number 2021-0D02418, State of Texas versus Fernando Villa. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Good afternoon, Brent Stevens on behalf of Mr. Villa.
Okay, and Mr. Villa is set for a bond hearing. Let me just, before we get started on the bond hearing, Myrna, can you tell me a little bit about the settings? I only see our bond hearing today, and then we jump to an October trial date. We don't have any interim settings. Okay, but we had a previous jury trial setting in April. Is that right? So we just reset it for 6 months? Is that what we did?
I'm checking, Judge. I don't think that.
Yeah, that seems a little strange. If you'll look at that. And in the meantime, Mr. Stevens, you may proceed. What is his bond?
It's $100,000 cash or surety.
Okay.
He's charged with possession under 1 gram.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from my notes, let me see, I think it was 0.07 grams of methamphetamine is what the lab report says. So my client is 30. He's from El Paso. He's a U.S. citizen. He's been here his whole life. He has an address to move to. He can live with his mother and father. He's unemployed. He went to Mountain View High School through the 11th grade and does not have children. As far as reporting, there was an issue with reporting to PR. He tells me he was reporting to Amigo, but wasn't reporting to PR for some reason. I guess he felt like I was under the impression that that was the reporting that he needed to do. So That's where we're at, Judge. It's for the charge, it seems like a pretty high bond.
So generally, you know, for the charge, it might be a little high, but it's really for failing to comply with the conditions, which he did fail to appear according to the PR notice of violation. But let me look into it. Mr. Vandenberg.
Well, we would agree with that. It's really not so much the underlying, but it's the failure to comply with. That's a serious issue, Your Honor.
Okay, do you have anything else?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
What's his prior criminal history?
I am pulling that up right now.
Judge,
There
Yep.
is,
I'm just trying to verify. I think it was a reset from Judge Beasley, and he worked 6 months, but I don't
No.
see any hearing.
Any interim settings? So if you can fill in, please, the interim settings, because that's what it looks like, that we had a trial date, but who is this from? Okay, so he failed to report to PR on January 9th, February 28th. He failed to report to court on March 30th. And I can see from the notations that I have on my no-shows that at least for the March 9th notation from Mr. Marufo, he did not check in. And then there's a notation here that he had no contact with his attorney. Have you been his attorney all this time, Mr. Stevens?
I have been his attorney for quite some time, Judge.
Mm-hmm. Let me go back over here. Let's see, he was granted a straight PR bond, placed on administrative. Okay, so failed to report. I guess they were in contact with mom. So there's no prior criminal history?
there is, he has a prior conviction for possession of controlled substance marijuana. He also has 3 other charges on that. They were either dismissed or not prosecuted, Your Honor.
Judge, there's also a pending DWI.
What did it arise out of the same incident as this one?
No, Your Honor.
It's a different date.
When did he pick it up?
The offense date is March 22nd, 2021.
21.
That's correct.
And this possession is from 2020.
Second, I'm just trying to go back on the PR violation report. Yeah, it looks like back in October, he was a no-show, so those are the ones that were noted. All right, so how are we going to make sure he shows up for court, Mr. Stevens?
Well, the best way I have is just to be able to contact him at his family's house. So my client has indicated that he will report and he will stay in contact with me if placed on a PR bond.
And he has, obviously, he's indigent. He has no resources toward a bond.
I do not believe so, Judge.
Okay. So the court is going to reduce the bond, but I don't know that it's going to be something he can make. It's going to be a 20,000 cash surety bond, 5,000 PR. He's going to report weekly. He's going to be subject to testing, may not change his place of residence or leave El Paso County without court permission. curfew from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. unless he is working or going to school. If I haven't already said, use no illegal drug or alcohol. Are there any other conditions, Mr. Vandenberg, that the state thinks are appropriate?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, just commit no new offenses. That'll be the order. Thank you very much, Mr. Stevens.
Thank you, Judge.
And we'll get you those interim dates. He's not set until October, but it appears from when it was reset before, you did not have those interim settings. So we'll get you those as well. Thank you very much. Is that all we have at downtown?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Thank you, downtown.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Staying with Mr. Stevens on page 23, Judge. Annex, may we have Chavez?
Go ahead.
In cause number 2021-0D02709 and 2021-0D00712 and 2020-0D06487 and 2022-0D02583 and 2023-0D00983, State of Texas versus Barnaby Chavez. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Preston Munson also on behalf of the state on 2022 0D02583 and 2023 0D00983.
And Brent Stevens for Mr. Chavez.
Okay, so this is one that we ended on last week. I think we were set for a probation status hearing, various probation status hearings, final hearing, plea deadline, and then I think one case was set for arraignment. I gotta think that's that 2023. And I was not understanding exactly, although you all had submitted plea paperwork. I had inquired about what the recommendation was, and I'll be very honest, you know, now I guess with the exception of Mr. Munson, but if memory serves, Mr. Munson was waiting on a jury when he appeared last week. Ms. Elizalde appeared on behalf of the state as well, and Mr. Stevens appeared on behalf of Mr. Chavez. And I think in part of the issue was that in the prior to that, in terms of a case conference with the court, there was another prosecutor that was handling that. And that was Mr. Vance, who of course wasn't handling the case last week. What is of great concern to the court is that at that initial hearing with Mr. Vance, Mr. Stevens, I don't recall if Mr. Munson was there, the court specifically told you attorneys that I would not accept credit for time served on the probation cases. And yet somehow those papers with that agreement came back to the court. And so I need to ask Mr. Stevens why you did not conference that when or why you submitted paperwork when I specifically told you I would not accept credit for time served on his probation cases.
Well, first of all, you didn't say that, Judge. You said, I'm
Oh,
not.
I beg your pardon, Mr. Stevens. I would not say this if I had not gone and checked the record,
Okay,
because I was in an absolute loss for why I would be receiving credit for time served revo paperwork on Mr. Chavez's probation cases. And so believe me, I stopped everything last week because I wanted to be sure, because sometimes you all convince me and we move forward. And the same thing you told me last week, which was he has 15 months in, Judge, is the same thing you told me the previous week. And I said, no.
I would like to review the record if you have it.
Sure. I'll ask Miss Wright to provide that, or you can make that request to Miss Wright. It's on YouTube. In fact, you can see it there, but I understand that's not the official record. No, you're right. It is not, it is not, it is on YouTube. So if you look back at the date, you can watch it. But by all means, if you want to check with Ms. Wright and make that request, do that. But I specifically said, I will not accept credit for time served. And I bring that up because in all the change of faces and everything that was happening, Mr. Stevens, you were the only one that was, you and I were the only two that were consistently there, aside from your client.
Well,
So,
that isn't my recollection of what was said.
okay, well, we can disagree on that. In any event, on his probation cases, even though he has 15 months, I am not accepting that on his probation cases. So have you all come up with a new agreement? If
No,
not,
we don't have a new agreement. I don't know what the court will accept, though.
so on his, he's got 3 state jails, right? And he picks up 2 new cases. Mr. Munson, my recollection of the previous agreement is that you were dismissing a smuggling case. Is that right?
That's correct. He's going to be pleading just to the possession. The smuggling cases will be dismissed, as well as the tampering. So he would be pleading to TDC on the possession case.
Okay, so that's 983, count 1. Is that right? 2 TDC.
Yes,
The smuggling case, you all are dismissing.
correct.
On his probation case, I'll take 22 months. I can reset your probation cases if you want to discuss that with your client and see how he wants to proceed going forward.
I think we do need a reset, maybe a week, and I also want to get a copy of that record.
Okay, make your request with Miss.
My understanding is that you already viewed the record, though.
What I saw was the YouTube hearing.
So that's still on there?
It is.
Okay, I'll review that.
Okay. We can come back in 1 week.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Awesome.
All right, who's next?
Top of page 25, Judge. Annex, may we have Diaz?
Can you repeat that name again?
Diaz, it said.
Judge, Rick Huffman here. Miss Diaz actually bought it out like a few days ago.
Okay, I just.
Sure, not in custody. Who's next?
Bottom of page 25, Judge.
Mhm.
Annex, may we have Marquez Omar?
Coming up. Never mind.
Go ahead.
In cause number 2023-0D00855, State of Texas versus Omar Marquez. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Rick Huffman on behalf of Mr. Marquez.
We are scheduled for a bond hearing today. Mr. Huffman, do you know what the current bond amount is?
I believe it's 21,000 split, Judge. I'm not sure what the split is.
I'll look it up. Go ahead. You may proceed on your bond hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, Mr. Marquez has been in jail for 83 days on this DWI. And he's been unable to pay the bond. We're asking the court to consider reducing the bond amount to something that he could afford. He has been found by the court to be indigent. Judge, my client is a United States citizen. He's lived in El Paso his whole life, and his whole family's in El Paso, so we would argue that he's not a flight risk. He works as a he works in cement, and he would be able to start work if released. He would also be able to get an interlock device as soon as he is released, and an apartment where he can live in. He currently doesn't have an apartment, but he feels that he can easily get an apartment and the interlock if released. Your Honor, I don't have, I can't pull up, for some reason, my Odyssey's not working. I can't pull up the documents, but I am aware that he is currently being treated by the sheriff's office clinic for depression and anxiety. And Judge, we would Mr. Marquez would promises to comply with all conditions of his PR bond, as well as attend all future court hearings. And we're asking for a bond reduction, Your Honor. Thank you.
Let me ask, is everybody getting these error messages on Odyssey?
Yes.
Yes.
I just emailed ITD.
Okay, so up until your client, Mr. Huffman, Odyssey, I was able to access. Now I'm starting to see those too. So, yes, ma'am.
Try to close it and open up a different Odyssey. Sometimes you have to just keep opening them and trying.
Can someone tell me if this is a true third while I try and do exactly what Ms. Pineda said?
I'm looking that up, Your Honor.
I think his current bond is actually 10,000.
I show 20, I do show it a 21 split 20 and the 1,000 PR, but
Okay.
don't hold me to that because I'm not able to confirm anything right now. Let me see if I can get back in.
Your Honor, he has 2 prior DWIs.
Just 2, really?
Yes, Your Honor. That's what the record shows. He has other convictions in other areas.
Give me a second. Access it.
We have a second, Mr. Vandenberg. This morning, I had a hearing with you, and I misrepresented that I had plea papers on Norma Bellman. I don't have them. I left you a message.
Thank you. You sent me a message on that by email?
I know I didn't send you an email. I left a message on your voicemail, but I'm not sure if I got the right voicemail because it wasn't your name. So I thought I'd give you the heads up.
If you'd send me an email with that, I'd very much appreciate it.
Will do. Can you put your email in the chat?
I will.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, it doesn't let me access them. So just in terms of the jailings, Mr. Vandenberg, I see, and this is just, I guess, what we have local is, let's see, that's an open container in a vehicle in 2015. So I have a DWI in 2021, and then a DWI over a 0.15 in 2022.
Yes. Those are the 2 that I have seen here.
Okay, and so then they're PR, so he's booked on PR revos on both of those in 2022, and that's how we get to our third. So we have 3 in the span of 2 years, huh?
Yes.
Well, alleged 3, but 2 for sure. So,
Judge,
Do you have anything else, Mr. Huffman?
You know, Your Honor, I just to be candid with the court, and I don't know if there was a question on the rap sheet, if you were unable to pull it up, there are some prior pen trips, Judge.
I do see there's parole
Okay.
violations. That's all that's kind of indicated on this. I'm not able to access much else. Do you have on the rap sheet, you're not seeing any more? I mean, you see pen trips, Mr. Vandenberg, but no other DWIs. All my DWIs are coming in the past 2 years.
That's what I see, yes.
Okay, all righty. So no, I think the bond is appropriate. I'm gonna deny the request to reduce the bond. Thank you very much. Mr. Huffman, I need a waiver of arraignment on Mr. Marcus.
Yes, Judge.
Thank you. All right, who's next?
Thank you. Judge, we have the interpreter here.
All right, go ahead.
And next, may we have Borunda Ceballos back?
To Portugal.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rosales.
Good afternoon. My client's name is Carlos Borunda Ceballos.
Understood. Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Portugal. Got it. We're back on the record and cause number 2023-0D000855. I'm sorry, 2023-0D00424, State of Texas versus Carlos Omar Borunda Ceballos. May I have announcements, please?
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
Mark Rosales, Your Honor, on behalf of Mr. Borunda, to resume the bond hearing. Thank you. We're ready.
Mr. Vandenberg, if you'll select English, I did not hear your announcement.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state.
I can hear him. Did you hear him, Judge?
I can't hear you, Mr. Vandenberg.
Really?
Maybe I have.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
It does say that I'm.
Did you do the interpretation change? Need to go down there and pick interpret to
Okay. Is this better? Any difference?
Mr. Vandenberg, if you'll select English on the interpretation channel.
Okay. Is that better?
Now I can hear you. Yes.
Got it.
Okay, and we are resuming the bond hearing now with Mr. Borunda, utilizing the assistance of a court interpreter, Mr. Enrique Portugal. Thank you for assisting us today. Mr. Rosales, I don't recall, what were the issues that we needed to get into now with your client?
Thank you, Judge. The issues were where and who he was going to be living with here in El Paso, number one. And number two, I described that he is suffering from a medical condition, but I couldn't describe that in more detail. So those are the two open issues. I'd like to ask my client those questions.
Okay, go right ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Borunda, if you are released on bond, where will you reside in El Paso, Texas, and with whom?
Me dijo mi esposa que podría vivir con ella.
Is that Miss Marisa Moreno?
Sí.
You understand she is the alleged victim in your case. Is there anywhere else you could reside in El Paso County, Texas?
Tengo familiares aquí, pero pues no me sé las direcciones exactamente.
Okay, do you know their names?
Voy a vivir con Verónica García.
Who is that? What is the relationship to you?
¿Mande?
What is her relationship to you?
Ella es mi tía. Verónica.
Okay, and can you obtain her address and provide that to the court should a bond be granted?
Sí.
I also described in loose terms that you're suffering from a medical condition and not receiving the medication you need at the jail. Can you describe that to Judge Perez?
Sí.
Go ahead.
Pues es que como yo tengo el lado del cerebro averiado, pues necesito tomar quepra de día y de noche. Y como se dice, he sufrido de varias convulsiones, pero les digo y pues no me llevan a la clínica o no me hacen caso.
You say Keppra, Keppra?
Sí.
Okay. Judge, I can Google that. I know what it is, but I'm not an expert, but it is an anti-epileptic convulsion drug, so.
Mr. Rosales, my apologies, but I don't recall if he said this earlier. Has he been a lifelong resident of El Paso?
I don't know if he said that either. Sir, have you always lived in El Paso County?
Sí, ya tengo desde el 2020 viviendo aquí.
That's not always. Where did you live before 2020?
Vivía con mi esposa, pero me iba para Juárez con mis abuelos.
Okay. Are you a US citizen?
Sí.
That's all I have, Judge.
Anything else, Mr. Vandenberg?
No, not from the state here, Your Honor.
Okay. So the court is going to deny the request to reduce bond. The bond is reasonable for this case. He does not appear to have a trial track yet, so we can try and expedite that because I know, Mr. Rosales, you did mention there is either already a newborn or one about to come. And if there's going to be some resolution, then we can kind of get the state to move on that. So let's set them for trial quickly. Myrna, we're looking at, hopefully we can do something. Mr. Rosales, I don't want to push you too far either, but with him being in custody, and if he's not able to get out, then I'd want to set his trial as soon as we can. Would August be too close?
No, August is fine with me.
Yeah, it doesn't sound to me like this is, I don't know, but we'll set it for August as early as we can, okay?
Thank you, Judge. And if the court could, I don't know the mechanics of it. I've only had this instance once before with Annabelle Perez with the 41st. God, the number was escaping me. She emailed the jail regarding medication and treatment. Obviously, or at least he testified that he's not receiving the medication he needs. Could the court reach out to the jail and do that?
So I haven't done that in the past. I mean, do you have information about, I guess, any incidents that had happened? I know I've had other inmates that have had, I'm not going to say similar, but it sounds like similar incidents, and we have inquired, but we were going based off certain incidents. So there were incidents where the client was reporting they had a seizure, things of that nature. If you can give me something more specific, I will inquire. I don't have a problem doing that, but I'm not inclined to send something that I don't have any information on, right? So if you can give me some specifics after you talk to your client.
Well, I don't have any, I don't think he has any medical records with him. I asked his wife to bring them to me, but further, other than what he just spoke about, that he's been prescribed medication, that's all I have. I'll try and do something more, but.
Sure, and if you get, if you inquire with the jail and find out that he's not receiving meds that he's supposed to be receiving, we can come back on the bond hearing or even just a status, and you can approach on those things. My experience has been that the jail is pretty good, even with those types of meds. I know it's a little more, there are some things they do prescribe, it just depends on what the needs of your client are in terms of the meds, and it's pretty delicate. So yeah, if you want to inquire with the jail, and if you find out that he is not receiving what the recommended treatment is, or he's had multiple incidents, so even if they're saying he's receiving appropriate medical treatment, his condition is reportedly not, it's like visibly not being attended to. So for example, we have seizures happening, every other day, then that would be, at least in my mind, something indicative of not receiving, the proper medical attention to the condition that he specifically has. But I know we've had medical staff in the past, and it was very recent, I want to say at the beginning of this year, for very similar types of conditions with inmates. And the inquiries were made, and the jail was actually, they were on top of everything. So.
Well, I'll certainly look into that, and I'll forward you any information that I have.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Rosales.
Thank you, Mr. Woodinga, please call me.
Is that the only individual who needs the
Yes.
interpreter? Who else is on the line here?
We also have left Mr. Ortega Nicolas.
Gracias.
Okay, who has Nicolas Ortega? Mr. Huffman,
I do, Judge. We do not need an interpreter for Mr. Ortega.
since you have like half my docket. Does your client need an interpreter?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Portugal, thank you very much.
Annex, may we have Ortega Nicolas? Because number 2022-0D04728 and 2022-0D02461 and 2021-0D03088, State of Texas versus Nicolas Salvador Ortega. Announcement of council, please.
David Vandenberg on behalf of the state, Your Honor, on all three matters.
Rick Huffman, on behalf of Mr. Ortega, we are ready, Your Honor.
All right, and Mr. Ortega is appearing remotely from the jail annex. We're scheduled for bond hearings. Our trial is June 16th. Mr. Huffman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, my client has been in custody for quite some time. We were here about 3 months ago on a bond hearing. And he still has not been able to afford the bond. His bond is currently with these three charges at a total about $400,000. Your Honor, Mr. Ortega is 33 years old. He's a U.S. citizen. He was born in California, but he moved here, excuse me, when he was 3 years old, and has lived here ever since. He did get his GED, and he did get some college courses here in El Paso. He works as a barber, and he's a cook at Speaking Rock. If released, Judge, he would be able to have gainful employment. Big reason he wants to get out, Judge, is so he could provide for his children. He has 5 kids, oldest being 6 years old.
Say the oldest, 6 years.
He has a 6, a 5, a 4, a 1, and a 2-week-old. He's very much in their lives. He supports them. And he wants the ability to do that again. Judge, what I was going to suggest, Judge, is if the court has any concern about, well, let me just let me cancel that. The other, Mr. Ortega has denied these allegations, and we do intend to have our day in court. We would just also like an opportunity to get out on bond and show the court that he could comply with conditions of PR bond. It's my understanding that he was reporting to PR bond and doing everything that they had asked him to do prior to being arrested on this new case. And yeah, Judge, the $400,000 bonds are excessive in my opinion. And we would ask the court to consider reducing those bonds. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. When was the last time we were here on a bond hearing? In February?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Mr. Vandenberg.
Your Honor, it's been only maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks from the last bond hearing. I don't understand. I don't hear anything about a change in circumstances. And I would point out that
We have a new baby.
it's nice to have new babies. That's not absent from my thought here. But he has prior convictions, two prior DWIs. He has a conviction for evading. He's also charged with an evading, and the charges against him include 2 first-degree felonies, Your Honor. We are concerned that he would be a danger to the community if he were released, and we oppose reduction in bond. Therefore, the charges against him are unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon. So these are things which are clear violations of his release, and there is no reason for him to there's no real strong reason for the court to reduce the bond, Your Honor.
Judge, may I briefly respond to that?
Of course.
Your Honor, the Mr. Ortega was not found in possession of the gun. The co-defendant in this case admitted to being the one with the gun. He does have 3 prior DWIs. He does have a pen trip for that DWI third. But I just wanted to kind of point out that first DWI was a DWI by intoxication by marijuana. And if the court is concerned with those DWIs, we would suggest the court consider an interlock device as part of his PR bond.
Mr. Huffman, as much as I want to give you some additional consideration for what you're telling me, we're, getting up to the trial date. First of all, obviously, the allegations are not, we have an ag robbery in here, injury to a child, unlawful possession, burglary of habitation, and 10 other felony. Not easy to look over that, and although I understand that your client, is their allegations right now. But when I go down the list of jailings, let's just look at the Odyssey jailings. I can't access anything else, but when I go through the list of jailings, everything is either a PR violation, a probation violation, even there's a violation of promise to appear, evading, assaults, more PR violations, violation of certain court orders in 2020. I mean, almost every case is indicative of your client's inability to comply with orders. So although I understand that the amount of the bonds seem excessive or high, there is nothing about your client's previous performance on either any type of pretrial or even on probation that gets me to a point where, we're going to be at a lower bond. It's just not going to happen. I mean, I can go down probation violation 14, 15, 16. Sentenced to TDC. What's the rec in this case?
It is 7 TDC, Your Honor.
Back in 2012, bench warrant, probation violation, DWI third. Yeah, the request to reduce the bond is denied. Right. Thank you. Anyone else?
That's it for this afternoon's docket, Judge.